Hello there, my fellow interweb music nerds. Nick from Gorley Records here. TLDR, I made a free sample library instrument using this Zither that I found at an antique store. You can play it using the free plugin Decent Sampler. If you want to just go straight to hearing it in action, use those chapters below. And if you want to download it for free, hit that download link in the description. Otherwise, it's story time. I enjoy a good meander through an antique store, and on a recent mocha latte fueled adventure, I found something neatly tucked away behind this spinning rack. This old 15-string Harbor Italiana Zither, also known as a lap harp. It's a bit of a child's toy slash beginner's instrument, and even comes with these little things of sheet music you can slide under the strings to easily play songs. But the sound is super unique, and I had never really played one before, so for 25 bucks I scooped it up. Now, these do have a major limitation in that there is only 15 strings, and to play it you have to tune all the strings to the same key. So in this case you have a 15 note range, 3 octaves of the key of G. So this means if you want to tune to a different scale, you have to retune all 15 strings, and there's only a certain amount of scales you can put it in before the strings get so tight that they snap, or too loose that it's just not playable. So unless you're playing in a band that only plays songs in G major, or the relative minor of E minor, then the day-to-day use of this thing is pretty limited. But it does have a great sound and surprisingly long resonances for just this little body, so I wanted to find a way to make this easier to play and use in my DAW. My initial instinct was to make a sample pack, however I have been messing around with how to code instruments into Decent Sampler, which allows artists to create sample libraries and code and design their own instruments using a free plugin, and I think that that's going to be the best way that I can immortalize this guy and also just make it way easier to use in my DAW. Long story short, I now have a sample library, which can be loaded into Decent Sampler, and is the first of many to come. It is completely free, and it is called Antique Zither. Alright, I'm just going to run you through a quick overview of Antique Zither. So installing it is very easy. Just open up a blank session of Decent Sampler in your DAW, and then unzip the download file, and within that you will see a file that ends in a .ds library extension. You just click and drag that file into your DAW and drop it onto the instance of Decent Sampler. It will ask you to install this preset instrument into your library. Just press yes. And there it is, Antique Zither in all of its digitized glory. Now I've kept the controls here really simple. Decent Sampler doesn't have a ton of modulation effects and that sort of thing built in, so there's only so much to work with anyway. So you have your standard attack, decay, sustain, release sliders here. It's fun to play around with these and kind of see what different sounds you get, especially given the nature of this being a plucked instrument. So here's just the standard sample with a little bit of reverb. Now because it's plucked, if you turn the attack up a little bit, you start to lose that pluck. And you're just sort of left with the resonances of the sound after pluck. And what's also fun is to, say, turn the release time down a ton and just have a little bit of release, and this will give you sort of a more muted sound. Maybe add a little bit of attack too. Let you do some exploration there. We also got a tone knob, which serves as like a cutoff filter. A reverb slider. And then this big shimmer knob. This does quite a few things at once. It sort of turns on some chorus. It adds in some stereo width and stereo delay. It adds some resonance to the cutoff filter, which you can really hear when the tone is turned down more. And it also changes some of the feedback parameters. So it kind of does a bunch of things in one. And then inside of that is your time slider, and that is the delay time within shimmer. And obviously, if you don't like these effects, just turn them off and use whatever effects you want in your DAW. Decent Sampler also supports round robins, which means that for every note you hear, there's actually 3 samples that it rotates through being played, and each one of those samples was recorded individually by me hand playing them. So you get a naturally slight different variation between each sample. This means that if you play some sort of fast plucking, it cycles through all those and sounds a little bit more natural and less robotic, like the same sample being repeated over and over again. You can download Antique Zither for free using the links below. This is my first decent sampler instrument, but there are many more to come, including sampling these railroad car dinner chimes. I'll be synthesizing on old electronic keyboards, doing all types of crazy patching and constructed instruments using analog synths, and honestly, so many other things already lined up, so it should be fun. So be sure to subscribe here to see these new drops. But in the meantime, take care, my friends, and enjoy Antique Zither.